Gosh, I got so dirty at dinner.
Yeah.
Or lunch.
Happy Valentine's Day lunch to
Happy
you.
Valentine's Day.
We have to get creative. Do Valentine's Day. Today's Monday, so we're recording it right on Valentine's Day. And if you're like, hey, Alex, can you just cough real quick and just clear that whatever's in your throat? I
Gosh,
can't.
it's been like over a month. I can't believe it.
Well, it's okay.
Do you think it'll just always be like this?
No, I'm not going to sound like Morgan Freeman. I'm sure what it is. I was actually thinking about this the other day. I think what it is I had COVID weeks and weeks ago, but
it's been like way over a month for sure.
When your immune system gets weakened, like and you get COVID or whatever, I think what I also got was an upper respiratory infection.
As a result of COVID?
Well, with COVID, from COVID, due to COVID, who knows?
Yeah.
They both probably came at the same time. And the only reason I say this is because what I'm experiencing with my voice, that has been going on. I've had this, I've had this before. I've had this, in fact.
You have?
Two houses ago that we lived in, off of when we were off of Fairview. I remember going to primary care and feeling like this. And I'm trying to cough and I can't clear it. And the guy gave me an inhaler, Qvar, which is like a steroid inhaler, and an albuterol, which I didn't need an albuterol. And I know this because I used to be a respiratory therapist in my old life. Mm-hmm. And those are the medications I used to give people. But anywho, I remember specifically like 2 puffs of Qvar would like break down anything else there.
Maybe you should get that again.
Well, by this point, it's like it's already on its last leg. I'm gonna
go. You think so?
Yes.
Until another month passes, and then you're
no, because what happens is viruses last, like upper respiratory viruses, they usually last between 4 and 6 weeks.
That's a long time.
Yeah. So it's what I don't want to do is finally like find some free time, go to primary health now that I'm on 4th week, and then have this thing naturally clear up in like a week and a half. So
should have gone like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I didn't really process the information. I didn't go like,
yeah.
Oh wait, I wonder if this is just an upper respiratory thing.
Yeah, you've had this voice.
It's fine. I'm not bothered by it. It was annoying when we had to.
It doesn't affect like you're working out. Do you feel like out of breath more?
No, not at all.
It just gives you like
apart from coughing and extra post nasal drip when I wake up in the morning. There's no other symptom behind that.
Do that sound you make. It's really sexy.
Oh, when I huck up a loogie? I'm surprised you're okay with it. Like, I've done it for such a long time. I've had post-nasal drip that I could remember.
If I'm close to my time of month, it does bother me a little bit.
Does it
really?
Really?
Usual. But I mean.
What doesn't bother you when you're close to that time of the month?
That is a fact.
Whatever's going on in Syria bothers you. When
everything.
It's that close to the time of the
everything
month.
irritates the hell out of me.
Yeah. You're like, why isn't the James Webb telescope fully functioning right now?
Right now.
No, the voice. I actually like this voice because I think how like we're all our biggest critic of our
raspy.
voices.
Well, and apparently the raspy voice is like a sexy voice.
Who's a singer? Is there a pop singer? Well, no, that's you just slowing it down. That's not raspy.
But it's kind of raspy.
You think it is? You hit it.
Raspy.
Well, that's a voice. Okay.
Well, I remember being like a teenager and losing my voice a few times because I actually lose my voice really easily if I have some sort of like sickness. And I remember like
that's false.
I had people tell me
I've been married for 10 years now, and
no. Do you remember I would lose my voice from like allergies?
False.
True.
Never happened in 10 years.
True.
I've never been married to you where your voice is.
You just don't remember. Your memory's horrible.
My memory is horrible when it comes to dates, not when it comes to life.
What was I wearing?
It didn't happen, so why would you be wearing anything?
I was correct. I wasn't wearing anything.
Exactly.
No, I would have like when I was a teenager.
Here's what never happened in our marriage. You go, I lost my voice.
No, I did. I remember a specific time because I actually remember.
Is that when you got your wisdom teeth pulled?
See, that did happen.
I know events. I'm not good with dates.
It was in that first house we were living in that we bought, and
where you get your wisdom?
I had that. It was like that period of time where I like didn't know it was allergies or if I was sick.
So you just dated back to the very first house we ever lived in 10 years of marriage.
Wait,
and you said you always lose your voice when you get sick. This is one story that was 9 years ago.
It happened.
Okay.
It used to. Okay, maybe it used to happen a lot
more. For the sake of Valentine's Day, it happened. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Go ahead.
But maybe it used to happen a lot more when I was younger. But I would like lose my voice and people would be like, ooh, your voice sounds sexy.
Were you like in the 8th grade when people said that?
No, it was like, I don't know, 18, 19, 20. Teenage.
Okay. 20's not teenage.
20's what? Young adult?
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. Young adult.
I like how you're like naturally go like, all right, whatever.
Young, whatever. Now I want to like have this like raspy voice. But I remember people telling me that. I'm like, why? Why do you think that is?
I think, okay, so if I'm going to shoot from the hip, because I've never really processed this information.
Because it's like it sounds like a smoker voice.
Yeah.
But why is that sexy?
I don't think anybody processes it as a smoker voice. I think what people are doing is there's a little bit of this a badass personality, right? Yeah. That's one, I think. The second part is I think a lot of guys are naturally more attracted to a pretty girl who's a tomboy, like us that play sports and stuff like that. And I think somewhere between those two ideas, it meets in a sweet spot.
Yeah, where you have a raspy voice.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, somebody called it a stripper voice. Do strippers have low voices?
I've never been to a strip club in my life, so I don't know.
But apparently,
and I've actually never met a stripper either. I'm doing really good when it comes to being a guy. I've never had a DUI. I've never been to a strip club.
So far for your mid-30s, you're doing well.
I'm doing really good. And you know what? Those three things are enough to get people divorced. And I think that's the secret to marriage.
Just don't do those three things.
So Ben Shapiro, who is who's a right-wing Jewish guy, political commentator, he did this thing on Fox where and I don't care if you listen to Fox or not. I'm just saying what he said. Well, he's like, in today's country, you have one of the biggest, because there's the whole like we don't start at the same starting line, right? That's very true. But what he's saying is like for success in life, there's like 5 pillars of like bare bone things that if you do, you will have like more than 5x or 50% chance of success in life. And that's like
some level.
Well, it's like simple things like he goes bare bones, like don't get pregnant as a teenager. That's one. Finish high school. Yeah. Don't acquire debt or a crazy debt. Like just bare bone things is enough for you to like have this crazy leg up. And this is like my pillars.
This
of
is
like,
your bare bones.
Hey, you don't want to get divorced in the 30s? Here's what you don't do. Yeah. Don't meet any strippers. Don't go to any strip clubs. And don't get a DUI.
Don't get a DUI.
Although I don't know anybody who got divorced from a DUI. Unless they have a drinking problem and they're getting there's
something on top of the DUI.
Well,
maybe.
Like they're hitting their wife when they're drinking, and they're also getting DUI.
There's like an addiction or something. Which
that's the alcoholism that we're talking about. Yeah, that's the.
That makes
As I'm taking a sip of my white
Russian. Should we have like a little like checklist?
It's a very short checklist. Yeah. What else? I wonder what would be another thing that's very classic for people in their 30s to get divorced. Like obviously when they like if there's in a physically abusive relationship. I get that. Yeah, let's add another one.
Well, cheating is the one.
Well, I would put cheating with the whole strip club thing.
But cheating goes a lot farther than that too.
Right, but the way we went is we went DUI, which is its whole separate category, right? Like drinking too much, right? And then we went to don't go to a strip club, which again, I don't know anybody who got divorced from going to a strip club. Apparently there's girls out there who like to go to strip clubs, like
girls?
Couples. Like
I've
only heard about it on podcasts and stuff. But anywho,
we'll dive into that later.
Right. But then what was the other one?
What were yours?
What's up?
What were your 3 things?
Well, the fact that there are categories.
Oh yeah.
But you're just throwing things in there. So you said don't cheat, but I would put cheating kind of along the lines of like strip club stuff, right?
You could, but also you could cheat with not a stripper, obviously. So it's like that's its own category.
Well, sure. But what we're going with is like, if you're going to go like Old Testament, be like, don't covet anybody, right? Yeah. Like, thy neighbor's wife. Like
you're trying to be a little bit more specific. Is that what?
Well, I guess I'm trying to be more general for categories, right? So like one is don't have a habit, like a destructive habit.
Yeah.
Don't, commingle with the opposite sex too comfortably.
I think what you're trying to do is like
categorize them.
Not categorize, but like have these checklists before you have the big ones. Like obviously if you don't go to strip club, maybe that's a good check mark for you to not cheat in the future.
But what would be with the predecessor to like don't get a DUI, don't start drinking? Is like no, you should start with don't drink and then you don't get a DUI. That's not it.
Don't ever drink.
No. I think there's just the next one is don't ever hit a woman, right? So it's like that's another simple one too.
Also, don't ever tell your wife she doesn't look good in those jeans. Ever.
Did I ever do that?
No.
But that's also not grounds for divorce. What is he going to be like? Your Honor? Okay, why do you want full custody of your kids?
That's
because he said, I'm not pulling off these mom jeans.
No. That's grounds for your wife being mad at you.
Sure.
Which is grounds for fighting, which is grounds for leading up to.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, that's fair. That's fine. That's fine. But I like that you go to like, okay, you say something negative about a girl's jeans, and you know what? This marriage is going downhill.
Well, that's all it takes.
Interesting.
No, it doesn't. But I don't know. I think there's too much involved in that to like have like a checklist of stuff.
You know what I'm thinking right now is like if you're in a group think and you're like, hey guys, we want to make a list of like what makes people get divorces. Mm-hmm. And then I can just imagine how many people will be like, and also tell her, and also write this down. This. Yeah, and also write this when they get too specific. When their mom is in town and she insists on spending the night, and she wants to be a little too opinionated about your marriage.
Grounds for divorce.
You're like, that was awfully specific.
I think also we don't have the experience or like knowledge to speak on
divorces.
Don't get a divorce. I think what we can speak on is how to have a healthy marriage.
Oh, I thought that what you're spinning is like we don't have grounds to speak about don't get a divorce because we don't want to tell you don't get a divorce.
No, I mean like we haven't gone through it or like been in any situation where that's come up. Yeah. Unless you talk about the stepmom. What's her name again?
The stepmom?
Yeah.
Oh, the alter ego? Not the alter ego, like the imaginary character that I've created.
The imaginary stepmom. So we have a joke. We have an inside joke that anytime I'm gone or anytime Alex needs help, there's the stepmom.
Well, not help. I do things where, like, the stepmom joke started coming about.
Which is kind of funny because I think I was offended by it at first.
You were.
Do you remember the first time you told it to me?
Yes, and this is what I was going to go for it. I think the first time I told you the stepmom joke. By the way, guys, this is not like, this is not marriage advice.
This is not real. This is just a funny joke.
Also, don't run with this joke. We communicate through humor 99% of the time, so I knew.
Don't start with this joke.
I wouldn't run to your spouse.
Even me, who loves like humor, and we've always gotten along. It took me a while to warm up to it because.
So here's how the joke. Here's how the joke came about. I have a Porsche, but I've always wanted a Porsche. And before I got the Porsche, I was always like telling Irina, I was like, I want to get a Porsche. I want to get a Porsche. He's like, and before the Porsche, it was like, well, the thing is, I wanted a sports car.
You just wanted some.
And it was a Corvette, the new Corvette that I wanted. And I was like, and keep in mind, I've never had a sports car, so it's not like I'm like, let's willy-nilly go get a sports car. But I'd have these like waves of like, I want to get a sports car. And then the next day I would wake up and be like, that's a dumb thing. Don't get a sports car. And then I'll go back to it. Mm-hmm. And then finally I've made enough like responsible like adult decisions for investment. And then I was like, I think I can get them. And at one point you're like, just go get the car. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if our friend Matt was over or something like that, but you're like, what are you going to do with the Corvette, a 2-seater car? Like, what are you going to do with it?
You can't take the kids in it.
You can't do it. Where are you going to go with it?
Yeah. We just had our third kid.
I was like, I'm going to go to the kid's stepmom's house to pick her up.
But the boy's stepmom's going to look really good in the car.
Where are you going to go with it? I was like, go to the kid's stepmom's house to pick her up.
I was offended at first.
You did not like that joke at all.
And didn't land.
That was a joke that I knew you didn't like. And when I told it to my buddies, it was a joke that I had to whisper to them.
Yeah.
If they're at our house.
Don't let Irina hear you.
So I made this joke. And then I said, who are you going to...
Do they laugh at it?
Oh, yeah. Oh, uncontrollably. Like,
I wonder, I don't know why it offended me. It's almost like... Even though I think it's easier for you to like say it and then like be done with it.
Yes.
For me, I like linger in the words you just said. I'm like, wait a second, is he thinking about a stepmom? Who is he thinking about? That's going to be a new stepmom for them. You know, like it's like a rabbit hole for me.
It becomes real for you.
Yeah.
Huh? Well,
I don't like that.
Is the same reason why you don't like to listen to music with profanity in it because you actually.
It affects me.
You hear the profanity versus with me, I can filter out profanity. Yeah. I'm like, oh yeah, he did say the F word, didn't he?
Yeah.
Like 12 times.
Yeah. Or like really violent scenes in a movie or show. It like really affects me. There's just certain things where I'm like, I can't not think about that now for the next 12 hours.
And I wonder if that's a male brain, female brain thing. The way we just think, not say like one's better than the other.
Emotion based, maybe.
Probably, right? Yeah. Because like think about it, like we grew up, you know, as we're driving here from the Valentine's Day lunch, we were talking about the Super Bowl halftime show, and we were talking about Dr. Dre was there, Snoop Dogg, Eminem, and Mary J. Blige, a lot of really talented artists. But Eminem is the example that I'm going with. Is like when you grow up in the early 2000s, if you're a 90s kid, period, but your teenagehood was in the early 2000s, you're listening to Eminem. And Eminem is rapping about killing his girlfriend, Kim, taking the shovel out of his truck or his back car, digging up and burying her.
But we didn't think about that when we were young.
No, because all the guys were just like bobbing their heads.
The music was good.
But I think as maybe either a life position like right now or whatever, or maybe it's just female male brain, you're probably like kind of reading into like, well, that's some dark stuff. Like I don't want to be listening to this. Which I don't know if you were listening to Eminem when you were younger, but
I was
a lot or a song. Because I had his albums.
It was all. I just listened to what was on the radio, and it was always on the radio.
But also, there's something to be said about a life position that you're in, right? The life position that you're in.
Sang yesterday. Did he sing a few yesterday?
Yeah, it was the. If you only had one opportunity.
Yeah. What is that called?
It was the 8 Mile theme song. Whatever.
What was it? What's that song called?
Lose yourself.
Attaboy. Yeah.
Mom spaghetti.
You know what's starting with the music? Oh man, it's so good. Yeah.
I think a lot of it also has to play with the life marker that you're in, right? Like, so for example, before you can make abortion jokes and I'd be like, ha ha ha. You make abortion jokes now, so I was like, I'm not into this.
Yeah.
I'm a kid, or I have kids.
Yeah.
Here's another funny story. Actually, I was listening to Chris D'Elia, who's a stand-up comic, one of my favorite persons. Got canceled. People. He got canceled.
My favorite peoples.
2 years ago. And now he's making a comeback. And it was, he was like a ladies' man kind of thing. Anywho, but he got canceled. But if you listen to his stand-up specials on Netflix, from 2017, I think this is the last one was Incorrigible, and he's making jokes about like he had this bit. And I'm not gonna. It's a kind of perverse bit, but he was talking about like everything guys do is to get the girl and to be inside the girl, right? And he goes, but the funny thing is, there's nothing there. Like when you get inside it, there's no prizes or anything like that, right? But we still do like, having a fancy car, have a fancy job, blah, blah, blah. And so he goes, that's the premise was that's where guys do everything to be with that girl in the girl, right?
Yeah.
Not necessarily be married to her. But he goes, but the thing is like, there's nothing in there. And the only thing that you get as a prize is a baby, which gross. Who wants that, right? Now, Chris D'Elia gets canceled.
You get a pretty good feeling,
too. Right. Chris D'Elia gets canceled. Well, pretty cocky there from your side. But Chris D'Elia gets canceled, right, a couple of years later. And then later becomes, gets counseling, fixes his life, gets in order. Anywho, has a kid. And if you're a Chris D'Elia fan, like I am, and Kyle likes him as well,
whoa! Don't put that on Kyle.
Okay,
I never heard him say
it. I'm not. Yeah. Anywho, we're content with Chris D'Elia. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay, we're content with it.
Yeah.
And you listen to his podcast, and the way he speaks about his son, and how emotional he gets about his son, and the most you've seen me cry was about my kids, right? Our kids.
Excuse me?
Okay,
my kids.
We need to have an alter ego for the stepmom thing, Susan or something like that.
Oh, do you want her to be named Susan?
Well,
I'm okay with that.
That's an old person's name. I'm okay with that. Like an older person's name. That's not a young.
Susan.
It's not a Kelsey.
You can do Karen if you want, even.
Susan, I think
Meredith.
Meredith is good. Susan's another good one. I like Susan. I think Susan's like old enough. You know what I mean?
Marianne.
Like, what's your name? Susan?
Yeah, Susan's like, I'm okay with it too.
Okay, cool. So but like I've cried the most is about my kids and seeing them growing up, right? Like looking at their old pictures and seeing how they're like that. And so seeing him do the same thing, I bet you he's kind of like cringes when he watches his old special.
There's certain jokes
that he made that joke
anymore
because he's in a different life cycle. He goes, I can't believe I was so immature that I made jokes like that there's nothing exciting that comes from a woman's ability to create a child with a kid. I don't want that prize.
Yeah.
That's what he said. But so, okay, going back into today, like where, like to make a full circle here, you don't find these things funny because the position that you're in.
warm up to it.
Well, because the life cycle you're in, you're in a marriage in the life stage of like a devotion to one another. You're raising a family and a legacy. You're building this legacy together, and you're happy. I think you're happy, but your happiness, and you're like, I don't want this to fall apart. No comment. Versus if this joke was made when you were dating somebody. And you're like, oh, the kid's a stepmom. You're like, that's hilarious because you're like, I'm not a mom.
I'm not. Yeah, that's true. And I think it's like even your life experiences along with that topic. So like for me, it's hard. Like divorce is still hard because I had family members who've gone through that. And so it's like, it was really real for me. And so I'm like, I don't even want to talk about it because it's like, I feel like if I talk about it, if we like joke about it, it will happen.
It's like saying Beetlejuice 3 times in a dark...
like if we talk about like a stepmom is there going to be a stepmom?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't know. I think,
Put that in
the emotions.
I understand it. It's a very scary thing. And, so you and I were talking about it during dinner or during lunch today, Valentine's Day lunch, because you were hanging out with Pitbull in Florida at a girls' weekend.
Mr. Worldwide.
You're Mrs. Worldwide or Ms. Worldwide.
Well, he's in Miami. We're in Tampa, so a little different.
Yeah. So that makes sense.
Close.
Yeah, it's close. And so you did a girls' weekend for, I believe, 4 days, 3 nights, and I was doing the stay-at-home dad thing, and you made me this list. With the 3 kids, you made me this list of like where everybody needs to be. Mm-hmm. You're like, and Beckham's got this birthday party, and make sure he brings his library book back, and make sure you go over his sight words, and make sure this happens and that happens, and the boys got basketball on Saturday.
Yeah,
it's at 5. Be there at 4, 5, which is a nice list, by the way. It helped me
Sunday,
like have
free
clarity.
Day.
yeah. You gave me
have fun between the hours of 11 a.m. and 3 p.m.
You gave me a 30-minute break, which I really liked. You said free time.
Free time. Yeah. 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. Free time.
Free time. Have fun with it. Do whatever you want.
Whatever you want.
Unless Harper's not napping well. So good luck.
Then.
And we were talking about it during lunch, how it was the first time that actually kind of being away for a long enough period of time that I had to almost like imagine what would it be like if you and I separated. What would life look like? Mm-hmm. And not bad at all, right? Like, I'm kidding, I'm joking. No, the way I looked,
I did fine.
No, I broke it down and I was like, this would be miserable because and you and I were talking about is how right now I'm a pretty outgoing person. You're a very outgoing person, but we don't have boring periods of like I'm bored. Like here's what we never say: I'm bored.
Yeah. I've never had that.
We've never said
since we've been married.
Right? It's like, so if you're like, hey, the boys got basketball practice, I'm taking them today. To me, I'm like, 2 hours of me just glad
that's not me.
Doing me time, So I kind of imagine, so here's this like weekend thing. And I'm like, okay, well, what if this is what it looks like when you divorce somebody and you're doing all this stuff, which, okay, it's fine. A lot of people do it. But then here's another idea. One of my friends, texted me. He's like, hey, we're having these couple of friends come over for the Super Bowl party. Why don't you come over with the kids? I know Irina's out of town. And to me, I didn't want to go because I didn't want this awkward feeling of like, here's a bunch of couples and then just I'm the one without a couple, right? And it's me with my kids. And it was the closest thing that I go like, oh, this is what divorce would probably like feel like. And I realized, and this is a pretty crummy feeling, that you might have a lot of friends when you're married, but they're not really your friends when you get divorced.
If you're,
because everything you do it as a couple, right? You say, come
over for dinner. The couple comes over.
Let's go to the fair. Let's take the kids to the fair. Let's, we're doing a 4th of July barbecue. Let's do it at our house. You do things like that, and everybody, the couples become your friends. Mm-hmm. And maybe I'm just only speaking for myself, but unless somebody has a bunch of single friends who are not in relationships, maybe they never settled down or maybe they're divorced, but people don't usually have a lot of them. Mm-hmm. And if you did get divorced, and this is how I was breaking down, like if this is what it looks like and I'm not married, my buddies aren't going to invite me to their house because the couples were the friends.
Yeah. And or the girls might be like, oh, don't invite him. Like this, right.
It's gonna be awkward. It's going to be awkward. It's going to be whatever. And so now you have to learn how to make new friends like that are in the same life cycle of you, either single parents, divorced, or just recently remarried, or dating, or never even settled down. You have to do that. And that means you're going to have to go to like bars. You're going to have to go to like social events. And that is exhausting. Mm-hmm. And also at the same time, like we started this conversation, I was like, the things we never say is, I'm bored. I bet you at that point, you do say things like, I'm bored, because you're like, I haven't done anything.
Or if it's like a weekend, you don't have your kids.
Right. Like, you're like, what do I do?
Imagine being bored.
Yeah. Like, what do you do? Like, well, I'm sure a few months go past and you're like, I need to go hang out with some adults. Yeah. And the only way you know how to do that is through. So long story short, please don't divorce me. I'm not going to go to strip clubs if you don't divorce me. And I'm okay with that.
What were the 3?
The 3 pillars?
The 3 pillars.
The 3 pillars. Don't get a DUI. Don't go to strip clubs. Don't make friends with strippers.
Don't make friends with strippers.
Yeah. And then, I'm sure don't hit your spouse.
Yeah.
And that goes on both sides.
I don't know. I feel like, yeah, I can't speak a lot about that topic, but it's like from our almost 10 years of marriage, we can more speak about like how to have a more of a healthy marriage. And like, I feel like
that's a boring conversation. We're not going to go there. Let's go more destructive.
Is it boring?
I'm joking. No, I think it's great. I was just using it for comedic relief. That was me being immature, trying to make a funny joke.
It actually wasn't that funny.
I know it was.
But
immature.
my card today was funny.
Your card was really funny. Your card, I actually have it right here. It says, "You are Kyle, earmuffs. You are."
He's gonna blush.
Yeah, I know. You are the only meat for my taco. I don't know what that means.
Ask the kids.
Kyle, any idea? I don't.
I mean, it's what you put ground beef.
And
maybe?
if you thought.
What do you like, chicken? In the top.
Okay. And if you thought that wasn't graphic enough, let me read the inside.
No.
Okay.
Did you hear me? That was quick.
Yeah.
Do not. I mean, it's not that bad. It's not rated R. I just said I married you for your body.
I appreciate you saying that.
You're welcome.
I work really hard to try to keep it together. Keep it together. The amount of self-control I have to practice on Friday night pizza night to say, eat only 2 pieces of pizza.
You've been doing good.
I actually texted you yesterday when you were, 2 days ago when you were still in Florida. And I was like, hey, on Friday nights, we have family pizza night and a movie. And I was like, I texted you, I was like, guess who had only 3 slices of pizza?
This guy.
And you're like, that's so hot right now. Because I don't have self-control when it comes to tacos and pizzas.
3 tacos.
Easy, girl. Because the portions is you eat until you hate yourself, right?
I don't have that.
You don't have that because you don't have the addictive mindset.
Although I
do.
did. I feel like I had to train myself to not be there.
Interesting. How much training did you? Is this like the episode about you and your research?
No, this is like when I lost like 40 pounds and I was. How old was I? 20.
Tell people the story because I don't think anybody heard the story.
I was like, I think I was 20. The crazy part is like literally right before I met you. This is a great Valentine's Day episode.
Yeah, hit him.
I have always struggled with my weight, and I know people have said that too. Everybody struggles with that, whatever. But I think it's like genetic too. If you look at my family, like. Everybody has had that struggle. We're not just like naturally thin in my family. And so I've always struggled. And then it was always like a yo-yo. I don't know if you had that.
A yo-yo? I had a yo-yo.
No, like a yo-yo diet where like you would like lose a lot of weight, but then like gain it back.
She didn't get it. Did you get it? I got it. The yo-yo diet. You like, I don't know if you ever had one. It's like a yo-yo. I don't know if you ever had one.
Did you?
Yeah.
Did you have the kind that like...
The Yomega? Yes, I did have
the Yomega.
Did I do walk the dog and the pendulum and did I do off the wall? Yeah, I did.
The walk the dog. I could never.
Did it get me all the girls? No, it did.
Zero.
No, zero.
How many girls did it get you?
There were 0 girls that talked to me. 0.
But you look dang cool.
There was a plethora of guys and there was 0 girls. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry to take away from your spotlight. That was an emotional trigger.
Although I like yo-yoing too. I wasn't very good at it.
Okay,
it was good.
I
it
want
was
to,
fun.
Okay,
so
yo-yo diet. It was like a yo-yo. You get on it, you get off of it. Yep.
Yeah, and I did that for a long time. Anyway, I ended up like I don't remember how much like exactly I weighed, but I was very unhappy with myself. I was always eating out of boredom, out of like I'm watching a show on my like laptop. Oh man, you know what? I could use a snack, so I'd go like eat. It just got to this point where it was like such a habit in eating like terrible food that it wasn't like really quick for me. It was it was like a gradual, it probably took about 6 months, maybe closer to a year of losing that weight. But anyway, I was like, that's it. I moved back to Idaho from Seattle and I was like so unhappy with myself, always feeling just miserable. And I think it affected my, like mental state. I was always just feeling down and unhappy with myself. And anyway, then I just decided to change my life. And the first thing I did was got a gym membership.
What made you go, I need to do something about it and we're going to do it extreme?
It wasn't really extreme at first. It was very...
But what triggered it? What made you go like, that's it?
I don't know. I don't think anything triggered it.
Because I think people
it was
who have
accumulation.
well, I think people with weight issue, and I was there myself. they usually have something that accumulates over time, but they're like they get to a
Something
point
that
whether it's a New Year's
opens their eyes,
resolution
yeah.
or somebody let them down.
I think the only thing that stands out in my brain, which I don't know if at this point this is what triggered it, but I remember always feeling tired and feeling like something was wrong with me. And I would go to the gym and only be able to like walk and not do very much. And I would spend like 15 minutes there and then leave. And I remember actually going to the doctor and seeing if like something was wrong with my thyroid, because I'm like, I'm always tired.
You were looking for excuses.
Yeah.
Because you have some people with thyroid issues in the family. Okay.
And I actually have thyroid issues that run in my family.
Yeah, that's what I just said, because you have thyroid issues around the family. And
you didn't say that.
I said you have...
No.
Run that back, Kyle.
No, you said because people have thyroid issues. That's what you said.
In your family.
You didn't say your family.
Kyle?
No comment.
Kyle.
We'll have to listen to it back.
Okay, go ahead. Okay, I'm not gonna fight over it. It's Valentine's Day. It's Saint Valentine's Day.
Valentine,
yeah.
Oh yeah. So I think I was looking for an excuse because I didn't have. I wanted something to like be the cause of why I was overweight, why I wasn't feeling good, and I remember telling that to my brother-in-law. I said,
I remember this. Go ahead.
I said, I just feel tired all the time. I like, I feel like it's something to do with my thyroid. And he's like, nah, I think you're just lazy. And I was like, no. And he's like, yeah, I think you're just lazy.
And he was a big gym rat at that point.
Yeah, him and my sister were both huge gym rats.
Which how the tables have turned because yeah.
But anyway,
okay, go ahead. Yeah.
He said that, and I was kind of taken aback, and I was really offended. Of course, I laughed it off because that's my personality.
Mm-hmm.
But then it really affected me. I think I thought about it for days because I was like, that's not true. I'm not lazy.
There's
I've
no
always been a
excuses
hard
at that
worker.
point. Yeah.
And then I realized about myself, I was actually lazy. I didn't try to like do anything at the gym. I would just like walk on the treadmill for 10 minutes and be like, oh man, I'm tired. Like I didn't allow myself to be challenged ever in terms of like weight and getting healthy. And even like food wise, I was eating like pasta, and I would eat like 3 bowls of cereal while I was before bed.
You said pasta, and I'm like, I already got tired here.
Yeah.
When you
Just
said
the word
pasta.
pasta makes you want to sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And anyway, so long story short, I was just like, okay, that's it. So I just like started going to the gym more and more, but it was very gradual for me. It wasn't like, I remember I couldn't even run without stopping. I think it was like maybe 3 minutes I could run, and then I had to stop and walk. But over time, the more you do it, and I told myself I have to go every day, 5 days a week. That's like my goal. And so I went, and at first, it was like I would run, walk. I would run 3 minutes, walk 10 minutes.
Which it's not that unorthodox because
It's
do you
not
remember?
uncommon,
Well, do you
yeah.
remember when we first got married? So you've done a huge
You ate my dust.
Well, when we first got married,
Well-
When we first got married, you've already done this.
When we were first
crazy transformation, right? Which I didn't know what you looked like before.
Mm-hmm.
I only knew that after we got married, and I saw pictures of you before. And when we got married, I remember
I had already like lost 40 pounds.
Yeah, and
So you got me at my best.
right. And so and this is the point that I never really worked out. I wasn't like fat, but I was a skinny fat. I was like when
You didn't have that like endurance.
I didn't have endurance.
Yeah.
I didn't even have muscle because I starved myself. Like I remember because I had my own weight issue. But I don't want to take away from your story. I remember.
How dare you?
Where I'm going with this is when it comes to running, I remember we had Jack and we owned those jogging strollers and we went for a jog. In fact, our last house, that's where we did it. Mm-hmm. And plenty of houses before that.
You had to like walk.
I had to I basically did what you did, like 3 minutes and then I had to walk.
Yeah.
Like I lost my breath entirely.
Yeah.
And I blamed it on the fact that I had to push the jogger.
Really, it wasn't that.
It was not that at all. It was just, I sucked at fitness.
Yeah. But that's true. You build yourself up. You build your endurance up to that. And so I had to do that. And it took me maybe like 6 months to like lose all of that weight. And obviously towards the end, I was losing it a lot faster because at first I couldn't do much. But then like all of a sudden I started running like 5 miles a day.
Well, you started building muscle, and muscle builds more
and you're
calories,
building
yeah.
muscle. Yeah. And so I was able to do more, and I would spend like an hour and a half at the gym, which sounds...
You became obsessive after a point, then. It sounds like it.
Yeah, I think I was. I think
You told me stories how like when you got hungry, just like not eat, you would have like a Jolly Rancher or something like that.
Well, so my other rule, which I think helped a lot, was I didn't like ever starve myself in terms of not eating like what I wanted to eat. I would still eat like I would eat carbs. I would just really limit it. So I would have like a sandwich at lunch with, bread. It wasn't like I was eating like 2 pieces of spinach and that's enough for me, No, I was still eating carbs and stuff, and I would allow myself to have dessert or cookies after I ate. But my one rule was I couldn't eat after 6 p.m. Like that was my ending point. So it was like I would eat at like 5:55. I remember like looking at the clock and being like, I wouldn't even let like a minute go by. That's how strict I was. And I would eat at like 5:55 and be like, okay, that's it. That's like it for me. But the thing is, I went to the gym at 9 p.m. every night. So it was like I got home from the gym and I was
everything off. You burned everything off.
Everything.
That you just had.
Yeah. And so I was starving, but I didn't want to eat after 6. So I would just like allow myself to have like a Jolly Rancher, just to get that like a little bit of like sugar or whatever and not feel like I'm going to.
You mean not to faint?
Yeah. But 6 p.m. is not that late. Now it feels late.
It will say this, by the way.
I mean, not early, I guess.
By the way, 2 things. One is I love the feeling, and I think you and I are wired like that to a small degree, more me than you. It's like when you create a rule and you go, no. You
follow it, you feel so good.
You feel so good.
Yeah.
So when you said I wouldn't eat after 6, and I like 5:55, and I go, I like that feeling.
Yeah.
Like, nope, that's it.
Yeah.
Like, I remember.
And going to bed knowing
Yes,
man, I'm going to wake up feeling so good in the morning.
Yes, my stomach.
And you know what?
Flat.
Now that I think about it, I didn't know this before because I had no concept of dieting or like intermittent fasting, but I was intermittent fasting at that point.
They just didn't come up with a name yet.
They didn't come up with a name. And because I wouldn't eat until the next, 9 a.m. in the morning the next day. And so I was actually intermittent fasting. So I was really resetting my metabolism.
For sure.
And I didn't know it. And now I am at this point where if I feel a little bit full, I stop eating because I've reset my metabolism and my brain, my mental, my mind to be like, nope, you're done. And so it was kind of crazy to get at that point because I had never had that before. I would just eat until I hated myself.
You know, it's wild. Like some people go like, you and I, we grew up in poverty being immigrants. But you go like, okay, so if you had like unlimited money, not to say that we have unlimited money, but like if you had unlimited money, what would you do? And you go, well, okay, first thing I'll do is I'll buy a baller car. Well, cool. Let's say you worked hard enough in life. You bought a nice car. You're content with your car. And you go, well, I'm going to buy some really cool clothing. Well, you did that. You're like, okay, cool. You have the shoes, the boots, the whatever. Like you got them all. Like, wait, that's fine. Watch, jewelry. Cool. Got it. Set. What up? Done. And then you go, well, what else? Well, I'll do travel. Okay, you travel. Here we go. And then now that you're busy with life, you can't travel that much, but you're still traveling. What else? Well, I would drink the best drinks and eat the best food. Well, that's where you get in trouble because with that level of hustle comes a certain level of feeling. You can go eat the best food in the world, but can you practice? And this is where I guess I'm going with this, that discipline, that self-control, resistance. So because if you go like the best food, that's your escape that you can now do now that you're not worried about money. Okay. Well, now you're going to be gaining a bunch of weight. Okay. Oh, what about, well, then you're going to do like, you're going to do the best drugs. Well, now you have something that's going to destroy your life on the other aspect. So I guess where I'm going with this is like the true thing of happiness or like luxury, whatever, is not necessarily the fact that you have access or being able to do that anytime you want. It's the satisfaction that you have before you go to bed and the moment that you wake up in the morning is, I practice self-control. I didn't eat all the lobsters.
Just most of them.
I didn't eat all the lobsters. Like and that's the part that people are not realizing because like there's some people, I look at Post Malone like that actually. He's a guy who had substance abuse issues before going into this like fame, right? You can tell that based off how he looked, both tattoos and his weight. Then he blew up overnight because it was literally overnight. He put a song on SoundCloud and the Iverson, what was it called? Do you know?
Yeah,
White Iverson, right? I remember exactly the music video because he still has cornrows. Like Post Malone has cornrows. But he posted it while getting drunk. He's like, because he drank then a lot and drinks now a lot. But and you see how he looks, right? And he blew up, made millions of dollars. But his body, he still treats like crap. And so therefore, there has to be some kind of conversation that he has with himself, both either going to bed or waking up in the morning, whereas there's a dissatisfaction. So the moral of the story is you have to, no matter how rich or poor, you always have to practice that self-control and self-discipline when it comes to limiting.
I feel like that's in any type in any aspect of your life, right? It's not just food related. It could be anything.
Right. Because
So-
apart from that, like let's say you have Jeff Bezos' monies, which is last time I heard it was in the billions. It was like, what is it? Like $130 billion. I don't know. These are obnoxious numbers,
Sounds
but
about right.
but he's in the B's, right? Like like a billion is it 1,000 million? Right? If I remember correctly, like, I mean, don't quote me right, but it's 1,000 million, right? That number is preposterous, right?
Yeah.
Like I've
Who
heard
even has that?
Neil deGrasse Tyson break down, like if you took Jeff Bezos' monies and you stack the bills, like each bill from here to the moon, you're able to go to like the moon like 37 times, and you're able to after that still be left over with.
Is it stacked in dollars?
Each dollar bill?
Oh,
like
dollar.
Yeah. So it was like 6 inches at a time, and then you still have money left over to go over the earth like another 60 times, and still have money to go to whatever. Like it's preposterous.
Yeah.
So where am I going with this example? This extreme example. The extreme example is like a man who can buy anything. He can buy people. He can buy things. He can buy food. It doesn't matter. Experiences, memories.
Yeah.
He can buy it all. If he doesn't practice self-control and self-discipline, then he becomes more destructive to himself by having his weight take control. He's less and less satisfied with himself. Like that's the part that not a lot of people are realizing.
Do you feel like we are all born with the same level of building up to that self-control, or do you think it's easier for some people than others?
Great question, actually. I think we are all start at the same playing field.
Maybe it's our experiences in life that build it.
I think I've heard
Nature
this,
versus nurture kind of thing, right?
Right. You're right. But I feel like I've heard this thing that we're talking about spoken from more and more rich, successful people, and not as many poor people. Not to put it in that perspective, extreme perspective, but like I feel like there's not a lot of people. In fact, I've never heard of anybody as a child, or because I love talking to people in terms of like who do crazy, unique things, and I've never heard, whether it's on social media from somebody in a small little pocket of India or something like that. Unless they're okay. Actually, here, let me maybe back it up a little bit, because I'm just now unraveling this idea. Monks do that, right? There are people who are in poverty by choice. They choose to join the monastery, and they do things that are restricting them, like celibacy or fasting. They'll do 30-day fast or whatever. They'll do things that are difficult on the body because it gives some kind of awakening or clarity in the end. So I don't so I'll backtrack my point, because I'm just now breaking down. I think there's people who are highly spiritual people who will do, I mean, the Bible says Jesus fasted for 30 days and 30 nights, or is it 40 days and 40 nights? But or the monks will do that for an extended period of time, or the eunuchs will go live a life of celibacy and whatever, or whatever. Muhammad apparently
But do you think that's
went
shaped
into the
by
cave.
The people they are when the or they just are like internally?
It has to be. It has to be nurture. It has to be an inspiration from somebody else.
Nurture,
I think.
yeah, I think so too.
Because why else would somebody try to do that unless they saw somebody else have some kind of awakening,
some kind of inspiration to them.
Whether it's a spirituality awakening, because Muhammad did that. He went into a cave or something like that for like multiple days. Or if it's somebody who, like David Goggins, who did a 240-mile Moab race, or if it's a guy, what's his name? I'm slipping his name, but he's the guy that broke the ultramarathon record. Sorry, the 24-hour race. He did it like 11 hours or something like that in 55 minutes or something like that. Being on a ketogenic diet, meaning no carbohydrates, but nothing but fats. Like, I think people do wild, difficult, crazy things like that because they saw somebody else do wild, crazy things. And there's a group of people who go, I'm either going to beat that, which these are competitive Olympians, or these are people who go, I like to see other savages and animals do savage and animal things. I don't consider myself to be a savage animal compared to a lot of these people.
Right.
I do consider myself to be somebody who likes to do difficult things because of the reward that comes in the end. And the only reason I'm doing it is not because of my nurture, or sorry, not because of my nature, how I grew up, but because of my nurture right in the last
experiences you've gone through.
5 years, 4 to 5 years. You and I spoke about this. We've been married this August for 10 years. And I am not the same person you married even 6 years ago. The discipline, the drive, the motivation, the ideas,
the body.
Thank you for saying that. I didn't want to say it was
You're
weird if
welcome.
I said it. It didn't come.
I got you.
It didn't. Thank you. It didn't come till the I don't want to say fourth quarter of my life because I'm not in that part yet. But in the fourth quarter of this marriage, I've been to
far,
date
yeah.
so far. That's the part that people. So on that point, you're right. It's nurture. It's not nature.
Yeah.
We're not born to be like you need to go do difficult things. Animals are.
In fact, I feel like we lean the other way. If you look at kids, no, that's not true. Actually, some kids do like to challenge themselves, but like we have we have one of each, where we have a kid who embraces the challenge or like strives for that, and one that runs from any challenge.
He goes to path of least
resistance. Yeah. So I can see, but it's like the way you shape him. Because going back to my point about when I was able to reset my metabolism and my brain, that was something I had to do, and it lasted 6 months. It wasn't something that was just like overnight, that's it, I'm going to do this. No, it was such a long training for me to like get where I am, where I kind of like reset my body and my mind to not view food a certain way. So yeah, that was for me was like definitely just the experience I went through. But I don't think I was like inspired by anything. I think I was fed up.
Yeah.
Which I guess that's a motivation too, right?
Right. Yeah.
It wasn't like I looked at somebody who was like, man, I want to look like that. It was more like, I don't like the way I look when I look at myself. I don't like the way I feel. I don't like the way my brain feels foggy and I'm just tired all the time. I think that was what pushed me.
I think there's a special moment.
Wow, my voice just sounded raspy.
I
there
like
for
it.
a
So
second.
sexy. I think there's a special feeling that happens when you accomplish something like a weight drop. From that point on,
You want more.
Well, yes, and I think what's driven
You're
from it is like, what else can I do? Like one of the things that I pride myself, and I never really kind of said this out loud to people, but like I pride myself in the fact that I think I dress pretty well, right? Do you think I dress pretty well?
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
You do.
I dress pretty
You
well.
do.
I like
You
men's
take-
fashion,
yeah.
right? And I think what drives.
I mean, you look good.
Thank you.
Real good.
I think what drives me is the fact that like I've accomplished enough things that make me go, oh, what else can I do? I've realized this kind of like the secret sauce in life where you can do anything you want to do, or you can be anything you want to be, or you can look any way you want to be. And I think where I'm going with this is like when you've done a difficult things like weight loss and you've gone through like conquering what Joe Rogan calls your inner bitch, right? Anytime you go, I want to quit, and you don't, and you do it. Anytime you don't want to work out and you do, and you love that high in the end, and you did it, and you go, well, like David Goggins says, he goes, every time you want to quit, you're only at 60% capacity of your mental bandwidth. So when you quit, it's not because you quit because you literally cannot do it again. You're only at 60% until you get past it and you realize, oh my gosh, I did that. How do you prove that to be true? Well, look at any marathon or half marathon anybody has ever run, right? When they go, this hurts, that hurts, I don't want to do it. And you go, I still have another 10 miles to go or another 8 miles to go. And you go just one foot in front of the other. And you finish, you feel like crap at the end, but the high that you get supersedes everything. It just comes down to your own mental limitation.
Yeah.
So again, where does it go? If you want to dress or look like Brad Pitt, yes,
I do.
You do. You might not have the genetic bone structure of Brad Pitt. You might not have the resemblance.
But you can try.
By golly, you can go dress like Brad Pitt and have the body of Brad Pitt if you decide to stick to the same disciplines you did.
Wow.
Another part of your life.
Unprofessional.
Everybody
heard that.
Ring doorbell, yeah.
And I feel like the more you do it, the less scary the next challenge becomes, because you've done it. You've been there.
You did that too. You did
did
that
that,
even
yeah.
to even like on on a more genetic level where you go, you gave birth to 3 kids allegedly, but
Allegedly, nobody knows for sure.
all 3 were given natural. And
2.
Did Harper get
No, Jack.
Jack? Oh, that's right, Jack got it. You were a quitter with Jack. No, I'm kidding. Joking, folks.
I was first time
Hey,
mom.
moms, I'm joking. So
Quitter.
with Jack, you had a what do they call it?
Epidural.
And then with Beckham, it wore off, so you technically had.
I just thought, how else can I make my body feel even worse during labor? How
and
else?
And then when Harper, you're like, I'm not going to do it. Like, I bet. So I guess what it was is like, you're like, I did this before. It sucked, but I felt so empowered.
Yes. After
and it made you go like, I bet you I could do it.
It was the same
again.
thing with like when we did our half marathon. It was the same thing.
You
when
compare
I started,
that to pregnancy, the birth.
No, I mean that feeling of like, I remember at one point we talked about this in the earlier podcast. Go listen to it. It's episode. I'm just kidding. I don't know what episode it is, but it's a good one. But when I had that IT band pain and I thought I was gonna quit, and I just kept doing it. I was like, well,
you had that a mile 5 out of
it was
12,
early out of
13. 13.1. That 0.1
You said it faster than me. But at like mile 5 or 6, I had that pain, and I just remember thinking, like, should I quit? Like, I don't know what to do. I like am limping, and then I kind of just was like, well, I'm gonna embrace the pain right now and see if I can like get through it. And lo and behold, my body either like went numb, or like shut down, or my brain was like, okay, like you're doing this. The minute I told myself I was gonna keep running. And then the same thing with my business. It was like I had so many fears and so many reasons not to pursue it or not to do it. But it was that challenge of like, okay, what is my biggest fear in this? Why don't I just try it? Okay, the worst case scenario is I fail. Well, I'm failing if I don't do it anyway, you know? So it was, I think there's so many aspects of your life, and I think we've already talked about this so many times, where it seeps into those different aspects. It's not just like one thing where you can challenge yourself. If
I could have one, and we're going to start wrapping it up, but if I feel like if you can...
Wait, I had a question before we wrapped up.
What was your question?
Well, you can finish this thought and then I'll ask the question.
If you can... if you can bottle up a feeling, and there's this running joke was like, if you could put this feeling in a pill, like whether it's an orgasm or happiness or whatever, in a pill, like what would you put in the pill? And to be completely honest with you, is the feeling that we're talking about right now, where you wanted to quit, but you decided to put one foot in front of the other and get in the zone and accomplish something like that. I think if you could take that feeling of satisfaction with yourself, I think it's a very primal feeling. I think animals are born with that feeling, meaning like they don't have this experience of like, I'm just a tired cheetah. I'm tired. Maybe
it's a thyroid thing.
I was just going to say that. Maybe I'm like, thyroid. No, they're born with it. You go like, if you want to eat today, you have to go get it. And if you don't get it, you will die. Mm-hmm. So animals are born with this pinpoint fine needle, eye pupils. And I think if you can put that in a pill, that's the pill you should be chasing. And the cool thing about it is you can create your own things and day to day. Like I have this ongoing list, and we can get into it in another episode, of like things I want to pass on to my kids. Mm-hmm. And the way I kind of wrote this list is like, it's probably going to end up being like in this form of like, one day I'll die and I hope they find this thing in the safe. And it's like a rules of life kind of thing. Yeah. Not something that I've read, but something that I've kind of learned. Why are you looking at my crotch?
I was zoning out.
Okay, sorry.
I was thinking about...
It's Valentine's Day. Yeah, it's Valentine's. But like, it's...
I was looking at your shirt, not your crotch.
Sure. If I could put these kind of like my own rules of life that I've kind of learned over the course of life.
Well, when you said that, I was thinking about like writing my kids letters. I'm like, man, I should write my kids letters.
And one of the things I wrote on is find opportunities to be proud of yourself.
Oh, that's a good one.
And it's very important because I have that like, and we've spoken openly on the podcast before about like the darkest moments or the darkest conversations you have with yourself, right? And it's usually when your brain's not awake fully, right? I say that I have in the mornings, you have that before going to bed. You're like, why did I do this with the kids? Well, every time, like the simple thing like pizza, again, we're making everything full circle in this episode. When you go, I'm only going to have 3 slices of pizza because if I don't put a resistor or like a limit on it, I'm going to eat the entire thing. I'm going to feel shitty in the morning. So by you going, I'm only going to have 2 slices of pizza and some salad. and you stick to your guns, and it's like 5:55 or 7 p.m., whatever your number is, tomorrow morning when you wake up in the middle of the night to go pee at 3 o'clock in the morning, you're going to be peeing going, oh, nicely done. I stuck to it.
Yeah.
That's the feeling we should all be
job.
chasing, is doing things that limit you, do things that create a resistance to things, create these limits, and find opportunities to be proud of yourself.
Yeah.
So what was your question?
Well, my question was off topic, but
Oh
it's
my gosh.
Valentine's
You're like, what do you think is
related.
happening in Ukraine?
Yeah.
Is that what you're going to say?
No. Well, maybe we'll save it for another day.
Is it? Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was just Valentine's Day related.
Well, yeah, that's on topic. We're not going to have another
Or maybe,
Valentine's Day.
Maybe this is like, because we kind of shifted gears, but to go back to like marriage.
Sure.
And that,
Yeah, it's a great time. Let's go pop it
what
up.
would you say is the, and I guess we can speak in terms of our marriage, like this, one of the top pieces of advice you could give somebody to like maintain a healthy marriage.
I got an easy one. Blow. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No.
Every day.
We always say this, and this is from Mark Driscoll's book, but it was so it's not an original idea of mine, but it's the mantra that I've carried for the last 10 years of marriage was always, marriage gets either better or bitter.
Mm-hmm.
There's no in between. And if you stand still and say, I'm just going to keep it like at ease, like not get better or bitter, it's like a treadmill. You're going to just go backwards regardless. So better or bitter is my thing.
Mm-hmm. But how would you say, if it's, are there any like practical things that would like make that better?
So I can't tell you. I think everybody has their own thing. What makes it better?
I guess you could speak for us.
Right.
What would you say?
Well, I think when it comes to better, everybody's spouse is so different. But with better, it's like you find things that makes the other person happy. For example, I know that you like to be told that your outfit looks really pretty, or you look really pretty. You like to be held hands, and I like those things as well. But I think everybody has. I think that there's more secret to the. It's not how many things you can find to do better. It's how many things you can find that make it less bitter, right? Because
which makes it better.
One is easy to do, and that's to create bitterness. The easy part to do is to make it better, and you go, I'm going to take her on a date now. But the part that's making it hard to do is the bitterness, getting rid of bitterness. So let's just put it in this perspective.
Because I guess if you think about it, you can try to make it better without fixing the bitterness part. Is that what you're trying to say?
Correct,
yeah.
right. Like the default setting is
like,
always going to be.
do this to make it better.
Yeah. Are you going to bring flowers every single day?
Yeah.
Right? Like
me? Yeah, I will.
Yeah. So I think by default it always gets bitter. Your job is to isolate the bitterness and cut it out. So I guess I would say it was like the secret sauce, or like the thing is, me naturally, I have a tendency to come off rude, come off as a jerk. And you're very gracious to like let it go over your head and kind of be patient with me or avoid it. And so there's many times that I go like, no. You need to go apologize, because if you don't apologize, you allow it to get bitter. And so then I'll come up to you and be like, hey, I'm sorry I said this. I'm sorry I acted like that. I'm sorry. And I have that a daily reminder. I have less reminders of go like, do this to make it better. Like go take on a date, because we like to go on dates. We enjoy it. To me, the active assignment that I give myself is like, find places that are allowing for bitterness to come in. And when that happens, like, fun fact today, I was in the bathroom today.
Were you bitter at me?
No, I told myself, I was like, be nicer to her.
Oh, when?
When I was peeing after our daughter threw up in the car
in
during
the
the
bathroom?
Valentine's Day date. Well, and the reason that was sparked is because when you called me when you're on your trip in Florida and you started talking, which you and I don't talk on the phone. We text.
You know what's funny? Going back to that.
Right.
I realized, because you weren't mean, but you were just kind of
I was short. Yeah, I was short.
And I didn't know if it was because you were like not having a good day and you were tired with the kids, but I kind of just like wanted to chat with you.
And we never chat.
And that's what I realized is like, we do not talk on the phone ever, because we see each other all day long.
We text more. And
but
we
even
see each other.
texting,
We
don't
work
text
from
that
home.
much.
Right,
yeah.
we work from home.
But we both work from home and we see each other every day, and it's like that face-to-face interaction. So that when I called you, I was like, he probably is like, doesn't know what to say, because we don't talk to each other on the phone ever. We're not that couple that like calls each other because we see each other.
Right, 10 years
It'd
of
be
marriage.
one thing if you were like at work, all day from like,
Sure.
8 a.m. to 5 p.m., I think it would be a little bit different. But because we see each other anyway, I'm like, I bet it's that he just like doesn't.
No, for sure. I don't. It's a lost skill.
Yeah, it is.
It's like
which is okay. Like I don't
talking on the phone. I think
love it either.
I think talking on the phone is after being married for a long period of time it's
like small talk.
It's like small talk.
Yeah.
It's such a skill set. You have to be taught how to do small talk. And
so what'd you do today?
right. And you and I,
kids?
we did long distance when we first met each other. So for the first probably close to a year, it was talking on the phone. So we were good at it. But also, we haven't done it in 9 years.
Yeah.
And so...
And I don't like the small talk.
Well,
and
10 years now.
Yeah.
But like, and the thing is it's a learned thing. So we can definitely we can learn how to do it. But here's the thing. When you're first of all bad at it, haven't done it for a long period of time, and all of a sudden it comes on you, and you go, okay, this is our first phone call conversation.
Ever.
The first thing that I'm hearing is you talking to another friend as you're getting out of the car, and you go, wait, what? Oh, yeah, no, you can just leave the door closed. No, and then as a recipient of that going, you're not here.
You're wasting my time.
You're wasting my I'm watching the fights right now.
Yeah.
I'm irritated with the kids because I was taking care of them. So I'm unwinding. And you're talking to somebody else as you're attempting to have a conversation with me on the phone. So I'm like, this is not the time.
That's true. And I kind of realized that after we hung up, because I was like, we see, like, sure, the phone call is a cool thing if you want to get into it and if you want to go back to that. But it's like, I like the in-person conversations way better anyway.
Right.
And so I'm like, it's okay if we don't like talking on the phone.
I actually prefer Skype. Because
you can see
and you and I have done it like when I would maybe be on a work trip or a hunting trip, and we'd Skype with the kids and stuff like that. Like because they're like, they're going to be limited versus a phone call. This could be 5 minutes or this could be an hour.
5
long.
hours, yeah.
Right.
True.
So to me, I guess I was caught off guard, and the fact that you were talking to somebody else
but
when you
it's
initiated.
funny that you didn't just say like, "Hey, honey, I don't really want to talk on the phone right now." You were just kind of like, "Mm-hmm."
I was,
yeah.
I'm watching the fights too, by the way. I just
true.
paid $70 to watch a UFC
You
fight.
just said that.
Well, I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know you wanted to talk. So you're like, so.
Well, I just wanted to chat with you for
guys,
like 5 minutes.
Oh, okay. Well, see, I didn't know that because if you would like to text me like, hey, I'd like to chat with you or something like that. Or like, hey, want to talk real quick?
Hey, can you call me in 5 minutes? I really want to talk to you.
That would be a different story. Like then you prep and I know you're prepped and you tell me about your day.
I guess you weren't prepared.
And, like today when we're driving to dinner, you told me so many stories about from the trip that were really funny and entertaining. So if you called me and you prepped and be like, hey, we're going to have like, hey, let's talk. Or can I call you? Do you have time to chat?
Talk?
And then you share those stories. That would have been comical.
Well, it's kind of interesting that you
it's
can
such
get
a skill.
out of that
it's
it's
such
a skill that
thing.
you lose.
100%.
And I was like, can we not talk on the phone anymore?
No.
Which is okay.
No. Unless there's nudes that are coming from it. That's a different story.
Or like if you call me to like buy something or like, hey, like if you're at the paint store or whatever, like, can you get this color? Or shoot, I don't need that one. I need this one.
Make it quicker.
Yeah. I guess we're just so used to that, which is okay because I prefer the in person anyway.
And I'm okay learning how to have phone call conversations, but I need to be like, this is our mission.
You know what it is also? We're never like apart for that long.
We work from home. We're always around each other.
I'm like, we don't ever like need to talk on the phone. So when we do, it's like,
what are you doing?
What do I say?
Yeah.
Hello?
You know what it's like probably?
How's the weather?
Like you and I have never stopped holding hands. It's always like a default thing, whether we're in the car or whatever. But there's couples out there, I know more couples than I don't know, who actually feel awkward that like now they have kids. If they grab hands, they're like, what are you doing?
I know. The first one would be like, why are you doing that? Yeah,
why
it'd be the same thing.
Right. And it's because
don't touch me.
You can learn it all. You can go back to the place, but if you haven't done it for such a long period of time,
it's very awkward.
Yeah.
Not that it was awkward. It was just more like you were just like, yeah, okay.
Well, but also on your end, I saw that you're trying to find stuff out of nothing. You're like, so you guys went to, you guys played outside today? I saw. Yeah. We shot some hoops.
So the basketball game, did they play?
So
did they wear?
Did Harper have a good? Did she like her milk today? Yeah, she liked her milk.
What temperature was it today?
Versus like the things you told me in the car. I'm like, that's hilarious. You made this beaver joke. I'm like,
would it be funny on the phone? I have to tell you in person.
All right, folks. Well, you're catching this probably after Valentine's Day, but we appreciate you listening. We hope you left Valentine's Day very satisfied. So we'll just leave it at that. Just satisfied.
Leave it at that. In whichever way that may be.
Remember, marriage gets bitter or better. We're reminding ourselves that every week. Thank you for listening. Make sure you rate and review this podcast. And
watch us on the YouTubes.
The YouTubes, please. That would be very thankful and appreciative.
That would be very thankful.
Yes. And check us out on the Instagram. It's next.door.neighbors, because apparently all the easy ones are gone.
Always.
And we'll see you on the next one. Bye.
Bye.